have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers held on for a 7-6 win in Colorado Tuesday night. Shohei Ohtani had a 2-run homer, his 30th of the season. 6th straight year, Ohtani has hit at least 30 home runs. The college football preseason top 25 poll is out. USC is number 14. The Trojans enter the season with the nation's number 1 recruiting class. Top 5 schools in the preseason rankings: Ohio State, Oregon, Georgia, Notre Dame, and Texas. The entire men's basketball team at HBCU Texas Southern University participated in a campus protest Tuesday to show their support for interim head coach Sharon Chapman. The team wants the administration to name Chapman as the permanent coach. The players organized the protest with other students after learning that the administration is planning to hire Seton Hall assistant Corey Lowry. If Lowry is hired, it will be interesting to see how far the players and students take their dissatisfaction. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. My big mama used to say that there are 24 hours in a day, 12 hours to mind your business, and 12 hours to leave other folks' business alone. So let's talk about our business, Crenshaw Business. For over 5 years now, the good people of the Crenshaw Corridor have lived in a gated community, but not by choice. Gates, fences, barricades, limited street access, closed lots, and then some. By now, you've heard the stories from the folk who've lived this nightmare. Business owners have lost customers. A charter school lost students. A veterinarian lost clients. Churches have lost members. And still, Procrastination Crenshaw sits unfinished. And when I say sits unfinished, I mean sits unfinished. Nobody was seduced by the Jedi mind trick they tried to play when they ran that headline on the front page of a local black newspaper about the project restarting in weeks. I mean, come see for yourself. The only trucks on Crenshaw are deconstruction trucks. It took a minute, but to her credit, LA Mayor Karen Bass showed up and she's leaning in on getting our parking back. But think about this for just a second. LA is not Chocolate City, and yet we are blessed to have a black mayor and a black city council president. But where is the black city council president? Where is Marquise Harris Dawson? This is his project in his district, but he has been strangely quiet. Did you notice in the recent Los Angeles Times story about Procrastination Crenshaw that neither Marquise Harris Dawson nor Destination Crenshaw had a word to say on the record? The silence was deafening. When people ask me why the silence, all I can say is, good question. As a reminder, the Crenshaw Corridor community sent him a letter, and it laid out real demands: a public timeline, relief for the businesses that have suffered, and an audit. At the moment, the last one matters most, the audit. Here's the thing. The foundation money, the private donations, that's their business. But this project is also funded by city money, state money, and federal money. I refer you back to the front page story in that black newspaper where they all talked about this. Go read it again. In any event, it's your money. And when public money goes into a $100 million project that still sits unfinished, the public has a right to see where every dollar went. Contracts, budgets, payments, schedules. That's not too much to ask. Again, it's your money. Our letter gave Mr. Harris Dawson a deadline, Friday, September 4th, to respond. The clock is ticking, Mr. President. 12 hours to mind the public's business. And this is one of them. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
How did you want it?
Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 oh. Come on,
Jesse Jackson Jr., welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580.
on and talk with me.
It's Wealthy Wednesday on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show and worldwide with Dr. Wilmer Leon. Dr. Leon
1080 download.
is a political scientist whose primary areas of expertise are Black politics, public policy, and American government. For 11 years, Dr. Leon was a lecturer in the political science department at Howard University in Washington, D.C. Y'all can kill the music for me. Dr. Leon is the host producer of the nationally broadcast radio show Inside the Issues with Wilmer Leon on Sirius XM Satellite Radio, Channel 126. He's the author of Politics, Another Perspective, commentary, analysis on race, war ethics, and the American political landscape in the age of Obama. Dr. Leon, welcome forward to the show.
Good afternoon and hello to your audience.
Dr. Leon, I can't wait to hear your takeaways and surprises from Florida, Wyoming, and Alaska. And let's end on Florida, if you don't mind. I want to talk about Byron McDonald for a moment. Go ahead, Doc. What happened?
Well, okay. So what order do you want this now?
Anything, but let's deal with him last. Byron
Okay.
McDonald. Let's save Florida for the end of this thing.
Okay. Well, I think overall what we're seeing, particularly from the Democrat side of the ballot, is more and more individuals, more and more candidates who are subscribing to the tenets of the Democratic Socialist Party are surprisingly winning elections. And one of the things that that's intriguing me here is how establishment Democrats don't seem to be understanding the trending of the data, because you've got a number of them a number of establishment Democrats who are saying, I'm totally against socialism. I'm totally against socialism. I'm not a socialist. And then some of their counterparts who are in the Democratic Party, but subscribing to democratic socialist ideology, which, by the way, is very close to what the Democrats claim they're supposed to be about, are trying to distance themselves from these individuals. And I'm trying to figure out why. And that why is kind of rhetorical. Because they're not, I don't think they're reading the tea leaves and that they're understanding which way the wind is blowing.
I think the American people are lacking a fundamental education. They don't fully appreciate that our system of capitalism collapsed during the Roosevelt era. It collapsed.
Mm-hmm.
And the social benefit programs established by Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, that Great Society, that New Society program that got Roosevelt elected to 4 different terms. Of course, he died in the 4th as president of the United States. Whether the American people want to acknowledge it or not, no matter how faint their memories may actually be, the Roosevelt's tenets saved capitalism, and it saved American democracy. That's right. The so-called social programs of Franklin Delano Roosevelt saved America. America was done. When one looks at the rate of poverty amongst blacks and whites and people in the country who were struggling, before Roosevelt's initiatives, the system was done. So this idea that somehow we don't believe in Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, healthcare for all, and equal high quality education, a clean, safe, and sustainable environment for all of the American people is not foreign to the Democratic Party. That's the language that they choose to use. They don't like this concept of socialism. They don't want Karl Marx brought into this equation. With that said, it's a fact that socialism tends to move forward in a system when the wealth of the nation becomes skewed in one direction and the rest of the people have nothing, or they're eating crumbs from someone else's table. I think that's the fundamental dynamic and agenda that's in front of us. I know we're going to talk about more of this when we come forward, because I do want to, on this question, Dr. Leon, get into the red scare that Donald Trump is now dropping on the electorate, laying the predicate for the U.S. military to potentially do something in this election cycle because of what he now refers to as a menace and a national security threat. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More on KBLA Talk 1580 with Dr. Wilmer Leon today, worldwide. More when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
The KBLA 1580 app puts the realest conversations right in your pocket. Stream live wherever you are in the world. No static. No searching the dial. A crystal clear connection 24/7, exactly when you want it. We recommend that you keep automatic updates enabled. Set it and forget it. So the app stays up to date with store requirements, bug fixes, and new features as we roll them out. Download the KBLA 1580 app today and stay plugged into the conversation everyone's having.
Just in case you missed our Procrastination Crenshaw Town Hall.
Seriously speaking, every Saturday when I hear the program about Altadena and how it may not come back, that's happening to us. This is the largest land grab since the gold rush in California. We have an EDD property, 59,000 square feet. Our elected representative determined that she should write a bill that would declare it to be surplus. So now guess what we're getting? Affordable housing. So I hope that we can start listening to one another, because there is a domino effect. If you don't care about us, guess what? We won't be here and then you won't be here.
Not letting them get away with anything. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
What's good, KBLA delegation? I am Miles Lowe, and I'm excited to be joining the weekend lineup right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Join me every Saturday at 12 noon for the Do Better Show, where we get into the world of tech, AI, the creator economy, navigating your mental health through it all, and have conversations with founders to find out how real people are making real money right now. It's not a course, not a subscription. Classes in session every weekend, live on the air. So if you knew better, you do better, right? So let's make a better you. The Do Better Show, every Saturday, 12 noon, replaying again at 7 p.m. right here on Unapologetically Progressive KBLA Talk 1580. We got a lot to talk.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
Light a candle, pour some wine. Grab a roll, the soft kind for a little me time. Charmin Ultra Soft Smooth Tear. Wavy edges for my rear. So let the softness caress your soul. Just relax, you're on a roll. Let her rip. Charmin Ultra Soft Smooth Tear.
Charmin Ultra Soft Smooth Tear has the same softness you love, now with wavy edges that tear better than the leading one-ply brand. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
You know that Big Bargain detergent jug is 80% water, right? It doesn't clean as well.
80% water? I thought I was getting a better deal because it's so big.
If you want a better clean, Tide Pods are only 12% water. The rest is pure, concentrated cleaning ingredients.
Oh, let me make an announcement.
Attention shoppers, if you want a real deal, try Tide Pods.
Stop paying for watered-down detergents. Pay for clean. If it's got to be clean, it's got to be Tide Pods. Water content based on the leading bargain liquid detergent.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley, drop the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We are worldwide on Wealthy Wednesdays with Dr. Wilmer Leon. Dr. Wilmer Leon is one of the sharpest and brightest African-American social activists in the country. Widely sought after for his opinions and his thought-provoking essays, as well as the podcast that he broadcasts nationally, Inside the Issues with Wilmer Leon on Sirius XM Satellite Radio, Channel 126. Dr. Leon, welcome forward to the show.
Thank you. Let me try to be succinct with the answer to the question from the first segment, if I could, really quickly.
If I could just restate the question to bring our listeners over, and that is, Donald Trump is using the Red Scare, this whole communist are coming to take us over, I think, to lay the predicate for national security or potentially military intervention because of the so-called growth or widespread success of the Democratic Socialists of America.
Oh, well, before we get to that, the question you asked about the analysis of the primaries from yesterday.
Oh, okay, that's fine.
And so what I think that we're starting to see play out here is the reality of the failure of the economy under Donald Trump, and as in the price of gas, the price of food, the price of rent, all of these things going up, and the failure of this war. Those realities are starting to make their way into people's perceptions of the country. And so Trump is now not nearly as invincible as he was in the last cycle. So you have, for example, in Wyoming, the candidate that he endorsed in the gubernatorial primary, Degenfelder, she lost. When you look at what's happening in Pennsylvania, there's a special election in a state house election, and Trump in 2024 won Pennsylvania by, or at least this particular district, by 18 points. Now you've got Democrats in very close races there. So the perception of invincibility of Donald Trump is greatly in question. But we have to ask ourselves, are the Democrats dropping the ball again by focusing on the wrong thing? When Hillary Clinton ran, it was Donald Trump's a fool, blah, 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 and she lost. When Kamala Harris ran against Donald Trump, Kamala Harris took the pages out of Hillary's failed playbook. Donald Trump's a fool, always telling us what they're against, not telling us what they're for. And so now with this Democratic Socialist issue, once again, the Democratic Party elite, they want to tell us what they're against. They're against democratic socialism. They're not telling us what they're for. And if they start to articulate what they're for, what we'll probably find out is it's eerily reminiscent to what the Democratic Socialists are talking about.
We're talking about a livable wage. They're talking about health care for all. They're talking about an equal opportunity education. They're talking about not letting AI take all of our jobs away. They're talking about unions. What's the problem here? This has been the Democratic message through multiple presidential cycles, except I think the intervening factor here is that moderate Democrats are afraid of a campaign that is pit us versus them, meaning the Democratic Socialists represent some kind of manifesto politics. Dr. Leon?
I think that's a very good way to frame it. And again, these so-called Democratic Socialists are running as Democratic candidates. So you find the Democratic Party is trying to eat its own. And it didn't work with Mamdani in New York. They ran against him in the primary. He beat Cuomo. Then he wins as a Democrat, and they attack him when he ran to be mayor of New York as a Democrat. They're eating their own. And in spite of that, many of these candidates that align themselves with democratic socialist policies and politics are prevailing in these elections. And the Democrats better get hip to the data and to the direction that this wind is blowing, or they're going to be like Olivia, lost and turned out.
And again, now your thoughts on this question of Donald Trump using the DSA as a basis for taking over the elections.
This is a desperation claim. Now China, he's claiming that China is accessing data, voter data, where the court just denied him access to voter data in this country. Isn't that ironic? What was he going to do with it? That he's now claiming that China is this Red Scare that you mentioned is attacking our elections. He wants to do away with mail-in ballots when he mailed his ballot in to Florida. So I thought what was good for the goose was supposed to be good for the gander. But for some reason, it's okay if he mails in his ballot, but nobody else should be allowed to mail in theirs. And quick point on mail-in balloting, people need to understand who it was that initially championed the idea of mail-in balloting. It was Republicans, so that they could accommodate Republicans who lived in rural areas, so that those individuals, primarily white people, wouldn't have to travel so far to get to the polling place. But now that people of color have gotten hip to this and are using this to their advantage, now all of a sudden there's a problem with it.
Dr. Leon, can we pivot to Florida for just a moment?
Sure.
So this Byron McDonald's guy.
You mean Ronald McDonald?
I'm not prepared to call him a name, but
okay.
What is his self-hating kind of justification for any progress that blacks have made in this country since the inception of the Republic, as if to suggest that any of us have lifted up ourselves by our own bootstraps, which is kind of the overriding philosophy here, that black people, black leadership, CBC members, all we do is complain that he's the new kind of, or the new breed of African-American leadership who doesn't see race, doesn't see color, but just as sure as I'm sitting here, he's a black man with a black beard. And yes, he may be appealing to MAGA in the short run, but times like this don't last always.
And it don't last long. Well, there's always been a good space in the dominant culture for people like Byron Donald. It's a good job. It's a good paycheck if you can get it. And there are a number of those that, look at Clarence Thomas and some of the others that subscribe to that same self-benefiting, but also incredibly self-hating politics. And one of the things that's very interesting and ironic about Byron Donald is he's been able to rise through the ranks by riding on Donald Trump's coattails. He's been one of Donald Trump's biggest defenders for the last, 10 or 12 years. But now all of a sudden, in his acceptance speech, in his victory speech, he doesn't want to talk about Donald Trump. He wants to talk about affordability. He doesn't want to talk about the war. He doesn't want to talk about the realities that are facing the electorate that he's now trying to appeal to. It's almost Donald who? I don't know. I don't know anything about that guy. So why is he now choosing to run from the very teat that he has used for nourishment all the way up until this moment? And I think if his opponent is as astute as he seems to be, is going to expose Byron Donald for the fraud that he is.
I hope that's the case. The president is.
Wait, one other point. I don't know. I don't know. I think to your earlier point, the racial dynamic here may also factor in because he didn't win a majority of the Republican vote in Florida. He only got 42% or so. There were more Republicans that voted against him than voted for him. So now that you have a black man leading the Republican Party in Florida, running for governor, I don't know if he's going to get the support that he, and the love and the fuzzy, warm and fuzzy that he thinks he's been getting up to this point.
I hope that's the case. Donald Trump is speaking double language in the Strait of Hormuz. On the one hand, he says that the United States controls the Strait of Hormuz, but on the other hand, it's becoming increasingly clear that the war has not stopped. Ships are still being attacked. How do you explain the president's bipolarity on this question?
It's very similar to just about everything that Donald Trump says. He is a very transactional individual that really doesn't allow himself, he doesn't have interest in the details of a circumstance. So he just flips and flops. Remember, the Gulf of Mexico is supposed to be the Gulf of America, or the Gulf of the United, whatever the heck he wanted to call it. Now he wants to claim that the Strait of Hormuz is going to be American territory. And the same thing that he talked about Greenland. He just thinks if he wants to try to put his stake in the ground, that all of a sudden people are going to follow him down the primrose path. What he doesn't seem to realize is that Iran and Oman are making the decisions here. The United States is not even at the table, and he can say all he wants, but I think it was Sporting Life that said, wishing don't make it so.
Another irony, a great irony, that we have just about 2 minutes before we come forward. Donald Trump is trying to deny millions of Americans the right to vote by mail, but once again, he himself voted by mail.
Another element of hypocrisy. And so the question is, when are the Democratic Party elite going to, they need to start just running an ad showing Donald Trump mailing his ballot to Florida, and the bottom scroll should be, when does the hypocrisy end? We're not supposed to be the United States of hypocrisy, even though a lot of our policy will tell you that we are. We're not supposed to be the United States of hypocrisy. And unfortunately, Donald Trump is clear evidence of that reality.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. We're worldwide with Dr. Wilmer Leon. It's Wealthy Wednesday on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. When we come forward, Dr. Wilmer Leon and I will continue to move through the issues of our day. More on KBLA Talk 1580 in just a moment.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black Congressman Byron Donalds has won Florida's Republican primary for governor.
We have won a massive victory.
Donalds thanked supporters after securing the nomination. The Trump-endorsed congressman will now face former Congressman David Jolly in the November midterm election. A new judge will oversee the appeal of Carmelo Anthony, the black teen convicted of killing 17-year-old Austin Metcalf, who was white, at a Texas track meet. The previous judge was removed after Anthony's lawyers accused him of making prejudicial comments following the 19-year-old's conviction and 35-year sentence. The appeal hearing is set for Thursday. And the Tupac Shakur murder trial continues in Las Vegas. Dwayne Keefe D. Davis is accused of orchestrating the rapper's 1996 killing. On Tuesday, former Death Row security chief Reggie Wright Jr. denied involvement in the shooting, while another witness testified about tensions between rival gangs. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A minor league coach with the San Diego Padres was taken into custody by immigration agents at El Paso International Airport in Texas. Oswaldo Perella, a catcher's instructor in the Padres minor league system, is being detained by ICE for allegedly having an expired work permit. Perella, a native of Venezuela, has been working in the U.S. since 2014. Perella had taken a flight from Phoenix to El Paso to work with catchers playing for the Padres AAA team in El Paso. Homeland Security officials claim Perella's work permit expired in 2018. Perella did not have his work permit with him when he was detained. Perella's brother showed reporters in Phoenix that Perella has a work permit that was issued in 2024 and is good through 2029. The Padres issued a statement saying they're aware of Perella's detainment and are doing everything they can to secure his release. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Whoa,
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Number 14. That's where Talkers Magazine ranked Tavis Smiley on their heavy 100 list of the 100 most important talk radio hosts in America. Join Tavis weekdays, 9 a.m. to noon or 9 p.m. to midnight. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Don't be anxious or confused about AI. Take control of your career when you get the skills to tackle real business problems and design specialized solutions. HR Dive reported that entry-level talent with applied AI credentials can receive up to a 25% salary boost. But where do you find training that you can trust? Future-proof your career and deliver more value with Humans Lead the Way AI. Their hybrid learning courses use practical definitions, real-world examples, and strategic insights to help you and your team understand AI with confidence. No magic, no hacks, no shortcuts. Just practical knowledge that helps you use AI more successfully. Don't wait. AI can never replace people who know how to use it well. Register for courses today at humansleadtheway.com. That's humansleadtheway.com.
Ready for a weekend reset? Walk it out with me, Gina A. Towns, the artist formerly known as Gina Darby, on Reflectivity Beyond Black and White, as we seek peace, understanding, and healing beyond surface level perspectives, where reflectivity becomes our inner power and resilience to transform our lives and our communities no matter what. Meet me and my crazy cool guests. Join the Reflectivity family movement as we make sense of it all. Every bit, every morsel. We're going to nourish the mind, body, and soul unapologetically right here on KBLA Talk 1580. Every Saturday, 2 and 8 p.m. on the West Coast, 4 and 10 in the Midwest, and 5 and 11 on the East Coast. It's time for Reflectivity Beyond Black and White. It's not only hot, it's sizzling, and we're cooking.
Let's do this. When the political stakes are this high, you need a source you can trust. KBLA Talk 1580. Los Angeles is home for politics all the way to November. Stay informed. Stay ahead.
This is America. All I need is one mic.
With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dionne Raymond.
justice correspondent and host of the Justice Files. For years, LA City Councilman Curran Price has served his district. And for years, he's been under a legal cloud which, frankly, looks thinner every time it's tested in court. Last Friday, a Superior Court judge refused to throw out the corruption case against Price. That's true. But listen to what the judge actually said while doing it. Judge Larry Paul Fiddler called this not a great case. Not our words, his. Price's attorney, standing right there in the courtroom, said it plainly. In denying our motion, the court acknowledged that this is not a great case. We agree. Now, that's not a ringing endorsement of a prosecution. That's a judge saying, essentially, there's just enough here to send it to a jury. Barely. The ruling itself says nothing about guilt. It's not proof of wrongdoing. What it is a low bar, cleared by a thin margin, on evidence the court itself has called circumstantial. Councilman Price has pleaded not guilty. He denies the allegations. And after 3 terms representing his district, he's term limited and on his way out of office, regardless of how this case ends, which raises a fair question. What exactly is served? By dragging a longtime champion for working families in South Los Angeles through a trial that even the presiding judge doesn't sound confident about. We're not saying elected officials should not be held accountable. They should. But accountability means something different from a prosecution that struggles to convince the very judge overseeing it. Curran Price deserves his day in court, and he deserves the presumption of innocence any one of us would want for ourselves or a loved one, especially when the bench itself has doubts. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dion Raymond, Justice Correspondent and host of the Justice Files. As always, we welcome your feedback.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Volley.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson.
Come on and listen to the beat.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. Welcome forward to Worldwide with Dr. Wilmer Leon on Wealthy Wednesday. Dr. Leon, welcome forward to the show.
Thank you, my brother. Good afternoon to you and to your audience as well.
Dr. Leon, how can we stay in touch with you and how can we help support your work?
Go to WilmerLeon.com. WilmerLeon.com is the simplest place to go and reach out, touch base, and unlike a lot of our colleagues, I will respond.
I appreciate knowing that. Hey, Doc, there are some concerns about the intel that the CIA has had and the low confidence in Israeli intel regarding the Trump assassination. I saw a really interesting meme the other day on social media, and it was titled How This Began and How It Ended. And this meme pictured Donald Trump in a military outfit. Of course, he'd never served in the military. He had on Top Gun type shades. His hair was completely coiffed. He was buff, swole up, looking like some kind of war hero. And then the other meme has Donald Trump squatting inside of a container, being in his suit and red tie, being snuck off of Air Force One and taken to another aircraft to escape an Iranian threat. And the contrast is clear that Donald Trump, as well as Pete Hegseth, had declared victory early in this war, but now Donald Trump is actually running from Iranian threats. And speaking of running from Iranian threats, is there anyone out here who's concerned about having drones sitting on top of the White House for the purposes of a military base on top of the White House? I mean, there are lots of places for which a drone headquarters or a drone facility could be built, but on top of the White House. Anyway, Dr. Leon, your thoughts about the way this began and the way it's ending?
Well, it began as a lie and it's ending as being exposed as such.
Mm.
As soon as I heard Iranian intelligence, aka the Mossad, suspects, and that was the story, suspects that an assassination attempt is coming out of Turkey against Donald Trump, that right there told me that we were dealing with foolishness. Look, Iran has a reason to vilify. I'm sorry. The Zionist colony of Israel has a reason to vilify Iran. Donald Trump has a reason to vilify Iran. And that's all this story was supposed to add fuel to, was the vilification of Iran. This was supposed to provide just another reason for this irrational, illegal war that Donald Trump has gotten us into. I remember hearing them say, there's a guy with a shoulder-held surface-to-air missile. That, really? Where's the guy? Show me a picture. Who's the guy? Show me some evidence. And then, if the story was true, Donald Trump is willing to put the entire White House press corps that was riding on Air Force One. They were willing to put all those people at risk as decoys. If the story was true, they were willing to put all those people at risk in order to save Donald Trump. Really? Oh, and who was I think the only member of the administration on the flight? Marco Rubio. Marco. Really? You're telling me Marco Rubio was willing to put his life on the line?
And the press secretary. I think she resigned shortly after realizing that Donald Trump abandoned her on a decoy plane.
The whole and final point here. I think I've made this point on the show before. When the real missiles were flying between Israel and Iran, Netanyahu was cowering in a bomb shelter. The supreme leader was sitting at his desk in his office. They were able to assassinate Khomeini, not due to some brilliant intelligence, but because the man was sitting in his office doing his job. And his mindset was, if my people are under attack, I must be with my people. I'm going to leave. If my country is under attack, I'm not going to cower in a bunker. I'm going to be with my people. And if they get me, they get me. And they got him. So it's I just point that out as an example of a difference of mindset here.
Doc, I these politics are playing out right now in every major U.S. election. Did you see the dynamic of this war taking place in any of the contests from Florida to Wyoming?
Yeah, I think it's a subtext, particularly as you look at the success of Democratic Socialists, because many of them are talking about being anti-war. I'm looking forward to, as we now move into the primaries in November, that there should be greater focus, not only on the illegality of the war, not only on the point that this was nothing but a war of choice, but the horrific impact from a financial perspective. Once we move beyond the immorality of this thing, the financial practicalities of this thing are also incredibly telling. And so Donald Trump saying, "Oh, look, if you guys got to sacrifice and pay a little bit more for gasoline, oh, it's worth it."
I want to say this just before we come forward, because it just occurred to me in this moment that when I was looking just a few days ago at the numbers of my own recent campaign, but for my entry into the race, the Bernie Sanders and the AOC candidate probably would have defeated the Democratic nominee, but for my entry. The people who voted for me did not vote for the Democratic nominee, and they did not vote for the Democratic Socialist. So the space that I represented in the campaign, one way or the other, was going to shift, but for me being in the campaign.
Mm-hmm.
So I know something about the very dynamic that you're talking about because it's real and it's playing out across the country. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. More with Wilmer Leon on Wealthy Wednesdays when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
You're still glowing, flirting, grooving. You've still got it. But your immune system weakens as you age, making it harder to fight illnesses like pneumococcal pneumonia and RSV. Vaccines are a key part of any health routine and can help protect you from getting really sick. Ask your doctor or pharmacist which vaccines you need. See more at PfizerForAll.com. Sponsored by Pfizer.
When you're finally off the clock after a long day, dishes put away, kids asleep, feet kicked up, heartburn. Don't let heartburn take over your hard-earned moment. Quick, Alka-Seltzer. Nothing works faster for heartburn relief. Alka-Seltzer effervescent tablets begin neutralizing stomach acid in seconds, so you can get back to your one more episode marathon. Quick, Alka-Seltzer. Because nothing works faster for heartburn relief. Use as directed.
Just in case you missed our Procrastination Crenshaw Town Hall.
I'm an Eaton Fire hero. I was trapped there January 7th, 2025. So I was awarded the Carnegie American Red Cross and the Kiwanis Lifesaver Award. So to me, this looks like a slow burn where you constantly see Dr. Hardy, Patrick Caldwell, Mr. Smiley here. Their business is slowly impacted. Now in Altadena, it was a quick burn. Everybody left. Everybody got priced out. They didn't have enough money to stay afloat. They couldn't rebuild their property. So to me, this is a target for the developers. In my opinion, having been in Altadena for 18 months, still today, I still feed all of those people there because they're still displaced because they can't afford to come back. So what do? They move down to the Inland Empire, or they just call it a day and they go back to another state. So it's important to hold leadership accountable because as of right now, they've abdicated their responsibility. They just show up for the cameras and they don't even come to see you.
Keeping them in check. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 is connecting you with services and solutions. Domestic violence and family violence is when someone in an intimate or family relationship tries to gain or maintain power and control over another through a wide range of abusive behaviors. Every single act may amount to abuse. Abuse can take on various forms: psychological and emotional, physical and economic, and sexual abuse. The Genesee Center Incorporated is a nationally recognized nonprofit domestic violence prevention and intervention organization, housing women and children from 30 days up to 2 years through emergency and transitional shelters. The Genesee Center also provides support services like mental health counseling, life skills classes, computer training, job referrals, after-school programs for children, field trips, tutoring, and comprehensive direct legal services. If you need help or you'd like to donate or volunteer, call the Genesee Hotline, 1-800-479-7328. That's 1-800-479-7328, or visit genesee.org. Everyone has the right to be safe. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Ready to order?
Yes. We're earning unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver card. So let's just get one of everything.
Everything?
Fire everything. The Capital One Saver card is at table 27 and they're earning unlimited 3% cash back.
Yes, Chef! This is so nice.
Had a feeling you'd want 3% cash back on dessert.
Ooh, tiramisu.
Earn unlimited 3% cash back on dining and entertainment with the Capital One Saver card. Capital One, what's in your wallet?
Terms apply. See CapitalOne.com for details.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. It's Wealthy Wednesday on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. And in our first hour, always, we're worldwide with Dr. Wilmer Leon. Dr. Leon is the author of Politics, Another Perspective, Commentary and Analysis on War, Ethics, and the American Political Landscape in the Age of Obama. Dr. Leon, welcome forward to the show.
Thank you, sir.
Dr. Leon, I'm working on a comprehensive piece on Joe Biden's true legacy from my perspective. And let me first begin by saying my sincere thoughts and prayers are to the Biden family as the recent announcement from Hunter Biden that the president is struggling with a metastasized bone cancer. But one of the areas that I find fascinating when I think about the legacy of Joe Biden is a particular paragraph that I wrote in this piece that I call The True Legacy of Joe Biden is this. When Joe Biden announced for a second term in April of 2023, he was already a sick man. Not tired. That's what the Democrats said. Not old. That's what the Democrats said. He was sick. And after the diagnosis was made public in May of 2025, Dr. Ezekiel Emanuel, the brother of Rahm Emanuel, an oncologist Biden himself appointed to his COVID-19 advisory board, said flatly that the prostate cancer already metastasized into bone does not appear in 100 or 200 days. That Biden almost certainly had it at the start of his presidency in 2021. And that he did not believe there was a serious disagreement among the physicians. Jill Biden has since explained that the annual physicals missed it because screening guidelines discouraged the test of men over the 70s. And on a national television in June of this year, she asked whether her husband could have served 4 more years. She answered, not from what I know now. I'd like your comments on that part of my analysis.
Well, I said in 23, might have been, I went public and said Joe Biden will not be the Democratic Party nominee for president in 24. I said that on my show a number of times. So my only question to Joe Biden, now I didn't know the degree or the depths of his illnesses. I just looked at the man, listened to the man, and looked at the polling numbers and said, you can't win this, Joe. This is not going to work. So if I knew it, then Joe Biden, how come you didn't know it? That's if I saw it and said it publicly numerous times, at least a year before he backed out. It was about a year and a half when I said Joe Biden will not be Wilmer, who's it going to be? I said, I don't know the answer to that question, but I can tell you it's not going to be Joe Biden.
Dr. Leon, let me read this final part that I'd like your opinion on. And I know that it's late in the program, but here we go. And here's the part I believe history will find the hardest to forgive for Joe Biden because it has nothing to do with his health at all. It's all the arithmetic. Just arithmetic. Withdrawing from the race is not the same thing as leaving an office. Joe Biden withdrew. He did not resign. Had he resigned that July, Kamala Harris would not have been a candidate for president. She would have been president of the United States. She would have taken the oath. She would have held an Oval Office, the Rose Garden, the Situation Room, Air Force One, the veto pen, and single most valuable asset in American politics, the presumption that the person already doing the job should keep it. Instead, she got a podium in 107 days. and the Constitution would have not charged a penny for it. Under 22nd Amendment, a vice president who succeeds to the presidency with less than 2 years remaining in their term may still be elected twice in her own right. Harris would have served only 6 months. 2 full terms would have remained open to her, and there was no constitutional price for that decision. This was the only personal decision, one of 2, that Joe Biden made as president of the United States that we can trace now, with what we know now, back to the events of his health. Dr. Leon?
Well, I would also throw in the war in Ukraine. That was a huge fiasco that Joe Biden took us into. And I will be more than happy to debate anybody who wants to tell me that Russia started this fight. Let's check the history, check the record, check the facts, and we can have that conversation. You're right about Vice President Harris, but I don't know that even given the advantages that you just articulated, that we would be any better off today than we were then.
Here's the best example that I can give you. If he had resigned in July of that year, Kamala Harris would have been president for 6 months.
Yes.
It means that when the second debate came, the first debate was a disaster with Joe Biden. The second debate was the Democratic nominee, Kamala Harris. He would not have been able to wiggle out of the third debate because the sitting president of the United States demanded after the second debate that she wanted a third debate. And she won that debate by most polls, some 60% to 30%. And that would have changed the dynamic of that contest. And I am convinced that he chose to be president 6 more months. And what we've gotten for the price of that 6 months is the dismantling of Second Reconstruction.
I won't debate that with you. What I'm saying is that I don't know that a President Kamala, that we would be in a different space, but I don't know that we would be in a better space. Because when asked, Vice President Harris, what will be the differences between a Biden administration and a Harris administration? And the answer was nothing.
And that's the problem right there, because Joe Biden, according to John Allen in his book, said he referred to her as kiddo. Kiddo, hey kiddo, hey kiddo. And he specifically said to her that I do not want there to be any light between what you say and what I say. And that is the president of the United States speaking to his vice president. But if she were president of the United States, she would have been standing on her own 2 feet. She would have had to take positions in her own right. And he wouldn't be calling her kiddo. He'd be calling her Madam President. I think that's a big deal, Dr. Leon, a big deal.
It is a big deal, but quickly, what did members of her staff say? She doesn't read the briefing books. She goes into meetings unprepared. She doesn't know what she's doing.
Well, that's been at least 2 presidents now. Donald Trump doesn't read the briefing books. Obviously, someone was reading things to Joe Biden, and he was using the auto pen. But I know I'm handicapping the old game. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Dr. Wilmer Leon, thank you for being on the program.
My pleasure, bro.
We're worldwide with Dr. Wilmer Leon and Wealthy Wednesdays on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Up next, Reverend Dr. Todd Yeary is our very special guest. We'll dig into some of the deeper issues of our day. Grateful for your leadership, Dr. Leon. More on KBLA Talk 1580 in just a moment.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. Black Congressman Byron Donalds has won Florida's Republican primary for governor.
We have won a massive victory.
Donalds thanks supporters after securing the nomination. The Trump-endorsed congressman will now face former Congressman David Jolly in the November midterm election. A new judge will oversee the appeal of Carmelo Anthony, the black teen convicted of killing 17-year-old Austin Metcalf, who was white, at a Texas track meet. The previous judge was removed after Anthony's lawyers accused him of making prejudicial comments following the 19-year-old's conviction and 35-year sentence. The appeal hearing is set for Thursday. And the Tupac Shakur murder trial continues in Las Vegas. Dwayne Keefe D. Davis is accused of orchestrating the rapper's 1996 killing. On Tuesday, former Death Row Security Chief Reggie Wright Jr. denied involvement in the shooting, while another witness testified about tensions between rival gangs. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique. But you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A minor league coach with the San Diego Padres was taken into custody by immigration agents at El Paso International Airport in Texas. Oswaldo Perella, a catcher's instructor in the Padres minor league system, is being detained by ICE for allegedly having an expired work permit. Perella, a native of Venezuela, has been working in the U.S. since 2014. Perella had taken a flight from Phoenix to El Paso to work with catchers playing for the Padres AAA team in El Paso. Homeland Security officials claim Perella's work permit expired in 2018. Perella did not have his work permit with him when he was detained. Perella's brother showed reporters in Phoenix that Perella has a work permit that was issued in 2024 and is good through 2029. The Padres issued a statement saying they're aware of Perella's detainment and are doing everything they can to secure his release. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
All I need is one mic.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. My big mama used to say that there are 24 hours in a day, 12 hours to mind your business, and 12 hours to leave other folks' business alone. So let's talk about our business, Crenshaw Business. For over 5 years now, the good people of the Crenshaw Corridor have lived in a gated community, but not by choice. Gates, fences, barricades, limited street access, closed lots, and then some. By now, you've heard the stories from the folk who've lived this nightmare. Business owners have lost customers. A charter school lost students. A veterinarian lost clients. Churches have lost members. And still, Procrastination Crenshaw sits unfinished. And when I say sits unfinished, I mean sits unfinished. Nobody was seduced by the Jedi mind trick they tried to play when they ran that headline on the front page of a local black newspaper about the project restarting in weeks. I mean, come see for yourself. The only trucks on Crenshaw are deconstruction trucks. It took a minute, but to her credit, LA Mayor Karen Bass showed up and she's leaning in on getting our parking back. But think about this for just a second. LA is not Chocolate City, and yet we are blessed to have a black mayor and a black city council president. But where is the black city council president? Where is Marquise Harris Dawson? This is his project in his district, but he has been strangely quiet. Did you notice in the recent Los Angeles Times story about Procrastination Crenshaw that neither Marquise Harris Dawson nor Destination Crenshaw had a word to say on the record? The silence was deafening. When people ask me why the silence, all I can say is, good question. As a reminder, the Crenshaw Corridor community sent him a letter, and it laid out real demands. A public timeline, relief for the businesses that have suffered, and an audit. At the moment, the last one matters most, the audit. Here's the thing. The foundation money, the private donations, that's their business. But this project is also funded by city money, state money, and federal money. I refer you back to the front page story in that black newspaper where they all talked about this. Go read it again. In any event, it's your money. And when public money goes into a $100 million project that still sits unfinished, the public has a right to see where every dollar went. Contracts, budgets, payments, schedules. That's not too much to ask. Again, it's your money. Our letter gave Mr. Harris Dawson a deadline, Friday, September 4th, to respond. The clock is ticking, Mr. President. 12 hours to mind the public's business. And this is one of them. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Tavis Smiley. As always, we welcome your feedback.
How did you want it?
Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, 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 the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Oh, come on and talk with me.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. It's Wealthy Wednesdays, and we are in the politics of our faith with Reverend Dr. S. Todd Yeary, Esquire. He is the principal of the Yeary Firm, a Maryland-based litigation and government relations firm, and also serves as the senior pastor of the Douglas Memorial Community Church of Baltimore and affiliates. Dr. Yeary's social justice work includes having served as the national board of the National Action Network, the organization run by Reverend Al Sharpton, and the International Civil Human Rights Organization founded by my father, the Rainbow Push Coalition, Reverend Jesse Jackson. Dr. Yeary, welcome forward to the show.
It's Wednesday, so all right, what you got? I know you got something.
Well, I've been working, and I touched upon it in the last hour, on a piece about the true legacy of Joe Biden. I don't know if you heard the two excerpts that I read, but with hindsight, now that we know he has a metastasized bone cancer, first and foremost, our thoughts and prayers are with the Biden family. I know what it's like personally to have a father with a debilitating illness, and there's nothing you can do about it. To sit back and watch the debilitation take hold, to go from conversations to no conversations, is indeed trying. And so we're certainly wishing and praying for the president's best of health. But this is not just a private citizen. This is and was the president of the United States. And so the decisions that he makes, she makes, that whoever is president of the United States make, have tremendous implications for the republic, the destiny of democracy, and our world. And I don't want to call it fair game, but I do think that we are entitled to our own analysis of the significance of of his presidency and what that legacy means. So I want to read this paragraph to you, which I read in the last hour. When Joe Biden announced for a second term in April of 2023, he was already a sick man, not tired, not old. He was sick. After the diagnosis was made public in May of 2025, Dr. Ezekiel Emanuel, an oncologist Biden himself appointed to the COVID-19 advisory board, said flatly that prostate cancer already metastasized into bone does not appear in 100 or 200 days. That Biden most certainly had it at the start of his presidency in 2021, and he did not believe there was serious disagreement about that among medical professionals. Jill has since said and explained that the analysis and annual physicals missed it because screening guidelines discouraged the test in men over 70. And on national television in June of this year, asked whether her husband could have served 4 more years, she answered, "Not from what I know now." It's possible, Dr. Yeary, to insulate yourself from people who are giving you advice and solid advice to the point that you cannot hear. And this decision and the present debilitating health of Joe Biden, had he been reelected president right now, at this hour, not only would we be looking at a president who would be incapable of fulfilling the function, we may even, if he were successful, be looking at a mourning period, a state funeral, the collapse and the slowdown of, if you will, the government to some degree in this very trying era that is so polarized on political extremes. It seems to me that when the president made the announcement and ultimately left 107 days for Kamala Harris to run and mount a campaign for president, that he wasn't necessarily thinking about the best interest of the country at the hour that he decided to run again. Dr. Yeary?
I don't know what he was thinking. He was clearly thinking that he wanted to run again. Whether or not he had full information, we don't know. I think what we do know, quite honestly, is a frail Joe Biden is much less problematic than what we hear is a healthy Donald Trump in a second administration with the chaos that we experience. That aside, I think what the reading says to me is the electorate has to remain current regardless of the circumstances. Certainly we can critique what one person should have done, what we wish they would have done. But in spite of all of that, we still had, from a sense of what the democracy represents, an opportunity to elect Kamala Harris, and we missed that window. And so what we would have had, quite honestly, had he run and won, there is a provision for that. If the president is incapable or the president dies in office, the vice president assumes office. Let's say, under those same conditions, we're looking at the same sort of scenario with the oldest serving president in our history, right now, this guy. Are we ready for what happens should he be found incapable to serve? We can always look over our shoulder and out the rearview mirror about what Joe Biden should have done, but he's not the president. And the current pain that the people are experiencing is not really a byproduct of what decision he did or did not make. It is, there was an outcome to an election. We now have a president, and this administration's policies are wreaking havoc with the concerns of the American people.
We're in the politics of our faith with Reverend Dr. S. Todd Eury. More when we come forward right here on KBLA Talk 1580.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
The KBLA 1580 app puts the realest conversations right in your pocket. Stream live wherever you are in the world. No static. No searching the dial. A crystal clear connection 24/7, exactly when you want it. We recommend that you keep automatic updates enabled. Set it and forget it. So the app stays up to date with store requirements, bug fixes, and new features as we roll them out. Download the KBLA 1580 app today and stay plugged into the conversation everyone's having.
At Charmin, we heard you shouldn't talk about going to the bathroom in public, so we decided to sing about it.
Light a candle, pour some wine. Grab a roll, the soft kind for a little me time. Charmin Ultra Soft Smooth Tear. Wavy edges for my rear. So let the softness caress your soul. Just relax, you're on a roll. Let her rip. Charmin Ultra Soft Smooth Tear.
Charmin Ultra Soft Smooth Tear has the same softness you love, now with wavy edges that tear better than the leading one-ply brand. Enjoy the go with Charmin.
Just in case you missed our Procrastination Crenshaw Town Hall.
My name is Asaka Umoja. I'm with the Hyde Park Organizational Partnership for Empowerment, which is at the southern end of Crenshaw. And this community has been greatly impacted. As a matter of fact, one of the things that we're most concerned about is just being totally neglected. And what I mean is being excluded from the process. When this project first started, they should have made sure that our organization, since we were most impacted, was in there. So we've been excluded, and we've seen commercial properties be taken for art projects. And we're very concerned about these are spaces that could help build economic growth and development in the community. And what this community needs more of is economic development, not art. I mean, I like art. It's a good thing. But they're putting the cart before the horse, because without a solid economic foundation, what they are calling cultural tourism absolutely has no significance and no meaning. And this community is going under if we don't stop and do something to help build that economic foundation and support the businesses that are the tax base for this community to build the kind of services that we need. And the response from our leadership is totally inadequate.
Holding them accountable. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
Self-destruction. Yeah, it was self-destruction. Self-destruction. Yeah, it was self-destruction.
You have something to say, and we want to hear it. KBLA Talk 1580 is engagement radio, not outrage radio. A place where your hopes, your frustrations, and your ideas are welcome. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Real talk, real people, real Los Angeles. KBLA Talk 1580, the station that sounds like the city looks. Tune in on your AM radio dial at 1580 Download our free KBLA 1580 app or listen live on our website at KBLA1580.com.
Unapologetically progressive. Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Folly drops the beat. Come on and talk.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. It's Wealthy Wednesday, and we're in the politics of our faith with Reverend Dr. S. Todd Eury. Dr. Eury, civil rights attorney, a public policy advocate. He holds a deep belief that honest dialogue creates opportunities to form strategic partnerships that strengthen families and communities. Dr. Eury, welcome forward to the show.
Sometimes they just say you're a brother from another mother. We've been hanging around the same places, and your parents have been near and dear to me. So just call me a member of the family. You don't have to read all the rest of that stuff. We can save it for when it's necessary. We got stuff to talk about.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Dr. Eury. Hey, so, I got your pivot, brother, away from the Democrats with Donald Trump and just before we came forward. And I want to go back to this subject matter right here because I have to put together these scenarios in my head that make sense to me because, we have to hold Democrats accountable for their behavior too. And so here's the part I believe history will find hardest to forgive because it has nothing to do with Joe Biden's health. It's arithmetic. Withdrawing from the race is not the same thing as leaving an office. Joe Biden withdrew. He did not resign. Had he resigned that July, Kamala Harris would not have been a candidate for president. She would have been president of the United States. She would have taken the oath. She would have had the Oval Office, the Rose Garden, the Situation Room, Air Force One, the veto pen, and the single most valuable asset in American politics and in presidential campaigns, the presumption that the person already doing the job should keep it. Instead, she got a podium in 107 days to run around the country. And the Constitution would not have charged her a single penny for it. Under the 22nd Amendment, a vice president who succeeds to the presidency with less than 2 years remaining in the term may still get elected twice in her own right. Harris would have served roughly 6 months. 2 full terms would have remained open to her, and there was no constitutional price for that decision. This was only a personal one that Joe Biden made after he dropped out of the campaign to stay president, to not shift the institutional presidency to the party for the long-term interests of the nation. The very interests that Donald Trump is dismantling through executive orders, through bullying Congress, through threatening senators. All of that is in play because of a decision that was made to not relinquish the presidency to the sister who needed the presidency under extraordinary terms. In other words, Dr. Eury, the nation had to get used for 6 months to a Black woman as the chief executive of the nation. And in 6 months, we would have had to trust the American people to accept that she is capable and qualified to do the job. It would have cost nothing except it might have strengthened and likely would have strengthened second Reconstruction. I don't want to fly past that too quickly, Dr. Eury. We'll do it Trump in a minute.
No. Now you changed planes on me. But now let's talk about it. Let's talk about it because there was an alternative.
No, I'm on the same plane. Donald Trump is the one who got in the who left his staff on Air Force One.
Hear me out. Because when we play this out, it wasn't just a matter of did the president himself know that he was incapable. There's also a process where the cabinet has a duty and an obligation, if they know him to be incapable, that they could also, under the Constitution, move him aside. The party knew that he was incapable, and yet they kept propping him up. And it wasn't until that unfortunate debate that we saw just kind of lead to the catastrophe of what was the demise to not only his candidacy, but his presidency. And so I think what you're pointing to, and if we're going to open this lens, yeah, Joe Biden had a role, but when we're talking about it, I think you mentioned at the beginning of this segment, having a conversation about the party, the Democratic Party knew, the cabinet knew.
That's honest.
The vice president knew.
That's honest.
And so if we're gonna have a come to Jesus meeting, it can't just be confession. We need a conference call. We need a big room, because there are a lot of folks who watch this over a period of time, and they messaged it in such a way where it would not alarm the country. But now, that being the case, let's talk about the politics, the machine politics that protected incapability, basically incompetence, not because he didn't have the skill set. That's the incompetence that we're dealing with now. He didn't have the fortitude or the health that allowed him to do that.
Sick. He wasn't old.
He's
wasn't
a
tired.
sick man.
He's a sick man.
Sick man. Sick man. Still committed, still had a problematic record. Yeah, we can go through and critique all of that. But to your point, and this was one of the questions that came up after that July announcement popped on a Sunday afternoon. I remember when it popped up. I remember where I was when it popped up. I was shocked. But I was also wondering, why not step aside? Why have the vice president run on his record when he had enough time to allow her the opportunity to build her own record, identify who was going to be her vice president and therefore her running mate, force the House to go through the procedure for naming the vice president after there's a vacancy at the presidential level and the vice president steps up? That would have allowed us to see how the democracy actually works. To your point, it started with one person's decision, but what it also came with was the endorsement and the cowardice of a system that would not seize the moment and challenge what they knew to be failed thinking. And the Democratic Party, the members of the cabinet, and the administration writ large are all co-conspirators with what we experienced leading up to the 2024 election that now has us in the current predicament where we find ourselves.
And the stakes were extraordinary in this decision-making process. I mean, with what we are experiencing right now, with what we are looking at in terms of 300,000 Black women losing their job at the federal level, the shuttering of the education department, undermining the U.S. Agency for International Development, USAID, the tariffs, the fleecing of the government, the advancements, the emoluments clause, and all of this garbage that we are looking at in Washington, D.C., it all hinged around a cadre of people, of sycophants within the Democratic Party, hiding the truth from the American people that the president's age was not an issue, that his exhaustion was not an issue. The president was a sick man, a completely different issue. And they deceived the American people in that process. And the consequences of that deception are extraordinary.
Well, not only that, but the naivete that came along with it. See, here's the thing. Remember the platform that came out of Chicago had more to do with published policy perspectives and this notion that somehow or other we could just talk about this word that folks could barely pronounce, and certainly most of us couldn't spell, authoritarianism. Folks don't vote for that. Elections are emotional processes, and they didn't tap into the emotion. They didn't talk to the reality that the reason we had to go through a pandemic at all was because of the failures of the administration that was trying to come back. The economy was in a shambles. Supply chain shut down. Businesses closed. Churches shuttered. when we think about the ripple effect of what happened as a result of COVID, the only thing that came out of COVID that folks would say was positive was that the wealth gap got wider for the wealthy. And so the fact that you have a Democratic establishment where some of their own key donors fall within that latter category, they don't want to tick off the folks that are writing the checks, and so they ignore the rest of us. And so this is really an opportunity for there to be a reckoning moment that, one, as we've seen in these elections across the country, when they keep talking about whether they are Democratic, socialists, or progressives, whatever label you want to put on, don't look at the label, look at the agenda. Look at what's on the menu. Look at what they're talking about. Look at who they're talking to, and then pay attention to who's showing up because they finally feel like their voices have been heard. This is the moment for the Democratic Party as we know it. Now, the Democratic Party as a label may not go away, but the structure as we know it needs to be dismantled in this moment, and something more prominent and profound and relevant needs to be rebuilt in its place.
I couldn't agree more. And in that space right there is where I think our movement has to put its energy, has to put its focus. The defining of what comes next that is independent of the infrastructure, this machine infrastructure within the Democratic Party that tells us who the nominees are going to be. And I have not forgotten. I have not forgotten when Joe Biden says he was withdrawing his candidacy, that 24-hour or 48-hour period before he endorsed Kamala Harris. There was a pause. And then as Democrats and the infrastructure began, as the momentum began moving very quickly in Kamala Harris' direction towards a consolidation, I will not forget, nor must we forget, the infrastructure that said they wanted an open convention in Chicago. And the governors and Democratic elites who were pushing for that at the Democratic convention, which would have left us even less time to campaign against Donald Trump in the fall. Certainly a disaster in the making. Well, it has consequences. It has consequences because Kamala Harris is considering running for president of the United States again. Joe Biden's condition is back in the news. God willing, he's with us for a very, very long time. But if he's not, this could end up being an issue about what did Kamala Harris know when, and why didn't she do anything about it? And the Democratic Party establishment itself being called to task on many of the questions that you've raised. Dr. Uri?
Well, a couple of things. When we think about what was known, you mentioned Zeke Emanuel as an oncologist and someone that worked with the Biden administration. We know the Emanuel name. We will remember that his brother is Rahm Emanuel, the former chief of staff to President Obama, former congressman from Chicago, former mayor of Chicago.
And what does that tell you? What does that tell you about transparency?
But listen. I'm trying to build the intrigue. You want me to cut across the field? I'm just kind of laying it out, like, I'm trying to be the reincarnation of Arsenio Hall, talking about things that make you go, expectations and outcomes in the political space are often controlled by the relative few until the masses of the people figure out that they're the ones who really have the power. Majority rules is only true to this degree. The majority of those who participate rule. And so voter suppression takes on overt forms, and it also takes on covert forms. You could be the frog in the tepid water that they raise the temperature degree by degree until it finally reaches a boil, and you are now somebody's frog legs. Or you can pay attention and get engaged right now and change the reality before the temperature gets too hot to stand.
We're in the politics of our faith with Reverend Dr. S. Todd Uri. You're listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward.
It's afternoon drive time with Jesse Jackson Jr. Only on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Amber Payton with BIN News Now. President Trump is pausing planned 50% tariffs on Canada for 3 days, saying the two countries, quote, have a deal, end quote, pending final paperwork.
I think it's a very good deal for both parties.
Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney says progress has been made, but more work remains. Mississippi lawmakers are facing pushback over proposed new political maps. At a hearing Tuesday, residents warned redistricting could weaken Black political representation and divide communities. Republican leaders say they're gathering public input before possible action this fall. And the race for St. Petersburg, Florida mayor is now between former Governor Charlie Crist and incumbent Mayor Ken Welch. Crist led Tuesday's six-candidate primary with about 35% of the vote, while Welch advanced with roughly 21%. The November runoff pits the longtime Florida politician against St. Petersburg's first Black mayor. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
For victims of drunk and drug driving, our grief is unique, but you are not alone. You always have a place at MAD. Call our 24-hour victim helpline at 877-MAD-HELP or visit mad.org.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
A minor league coach with the San Diego Padres was taken into custody by immigration agents at El Paso International Airport in Texas. Oswaldo Perella, a catcher's instructor in the Padres minor league system, is being detained by ICE for allegedly having an expired work permit. Perella, a native of Venezuela, has been working in the U.S. since 2014. Perella had taken a flight from Phoenix to El Paso to work with catchers playing for the Padres AAA team in El Paso. Homeland Security officials claim Perella's work permit expired in 2018. Perella did not have his work permit with him when he was detained. Perella's brother showed reporters in Phoenix that Perella has a work permit that was issued in 2024 and is good through 2029. The Padres issued a statement saying they're aware of Perella's detainment and are doing everything they can to secure his release. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
You can't fix what you won't face. And we face it every day. This is KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
Just in case you missed our Procrastination Crenshaw Town Hall.
My name is Khalifa Bey. I am the founder of the South LA Bureau of Tourism and Trade. And how this is impacting me is that I can't promote it. I won't promote it. I hear a lot of talk about everybody. Accountability is responsibility. Change your vote. Change the vote. I know there's a lot of Democrats in this room, and I get all that. But if you keep doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different result, it ain't gonna happen. And it's not about Democrat, Republican. It's about getting what we need to get done. That's what it is for me. Because this is deliberate. This of our communities. You look at Chicago. You look at all the black communities were built by us. We're in the same condition. So to me, it's by design. And if we don't do something to change the vote to get to what we need, stop having these meetings.
Making sure they stick to the truth. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
You can't fix what you won't face. And we face it every day. This is KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy?
All I need is one mic.
With the KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dionne Raymond, Justice Correspondent and host of the Justice Files. For years, LA City Councilman Curran Price has served his district. And for years, he's been under a legal cloud which, frankly, looks thinner every time it's tested in court. Last Friday, a Superior Court judge refused to throw out the corruption case against Price. That's true. But listen to what the judge actually said while doing it. Judge Larry Paul Fidler called this not a great case. Not our words, his. Price's attorney, standing right there in the courtroom, said it plainly. In denying our motion, the court acknowledged that this is not a great case. We agree. Now, that's not a ringing endorsement of a prosecution. That's a judge saying, essentially, there's just enough here to send it to a jury. Barely. The ruling itself says nothing about guilt. It's not proof of wrongdoing. What it is a low bar, cleared by a thin margin, on evidence the court itself has called circumstantial. Councilman Price has pleaded not guilty. He denies the allegations. And after 3 terms representing his district, he's term limited and on his way out of office, regardless of how this case ends, which raises a fair question. What exactly is served? By dragging a longtime champion for working families in South Los Angeles through a trial that even the presiding judge doesn't sound confident about. We're not saying elected officials should not be held accountable. They should. But accountability means something different from a prosecution that struggles to convince the very judge overseeing it. Curran Price deserves his day in court, and he deserves the presumption of innocence any one of us would want for ourselves or a loved one, especially when the bench itself has doubts. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dion Raymond, Justice Correspondent and host of the Justice Files. As always, we welcome your feedback.
You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me. Come on and talk with me. Come on and listen to me.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We're in the politics of our faith with Dr. Uri. Dr. Uri, welcome forward to the show.
Boy, you brought a big spoon to stir it up today. That's all I got.
Oh man, I want to move on to the pot, and that
come on.
Donald John Trump, more unhinged than ever. It's increasingly clear, and we talked about it with Dr. Leon in the first segment, that he's prepared. I'm more and more convinced that the Democratic Socialists of America and their activity in the Democratic Party is some kind of national threat to the Republic, some security threat to the Republic. And he's started invoking this idea of communism, this idea that somehow we are being infiltrated from the outside and that within us is some enemy that certainly suggests not only with the gathering of data from various states and that request and the forcible request from the Justice Department, which we saw in Fulton County, but this entire disposition in this season seems to suggest that Donald Trump is prepared to use some kind of action going into this election that could very well threaten the stability of American democracy. Your thoughts, Dr. Yu?
My first thought is, I think it is highly unfair to have me come talk about the politics of my faith after you have already spent an hour talking to Dr. Wilmer Leon. And he done already stirred up some, I need to at least know what did he serve so I don't come up in here serving milk toast after he has jumped in the deep end of the pool.
Oh no, you're in deep water, Doc. You're in deep water.
I love Dr. Leon, and we have a good time talking. Basically, he's given an assessment. This is not like a discovery. This ain't like Christopher Columbus. In 1492, he sailed Columbus sailed the ocean blue, got lost, and then came up and decided that he was going to discover something that had already been named for somebody else. It ain't that kind of foolishness. It is, though, that we've seen the pretext of this administration from the earliest days upon its arrival. Seizing ballots, going in, asking for voter rolls from states, having to go to court to protect the integrity and the credibility that the states are actually responsible for elections. Because when we elect, say, a president, we have a single outcome, but you actually have 50 different elections. And the states then are electing their electors to go represent their voices when the Electoral College convenes. And so because we haven't thought about this president is trying to create a pretext. He knows that the writing's on the wall, that if he goes into his lame duck Congress of his last 2 years and he doesn't have control of both houses, gridlock's going to set in. And if he loses control of the House where the money starts, and he then loses the ability to control what the committees do in terms of the gavel, that's when he knows he's got trouble. And so what he's doing is he's basically doing what we heard as kids. Remember as kids, we heard about this entity, this thing called the boogeyman. So he said that the boogeyman is loose again, y'all. The boogeyman's loose. And the reason he's saying the boogeyman is loose is if you look at who the Democratic Socialists resemble, those who are winning, they actually got a little pigment to them. So now you got these brown people infiltrating the process, speaking more broadly and not holding the white Christian nationalism, male-dominated framework that gets kind of pulled over everybody's eyes. And the old dude in the White House is like, oh, I've seen this before, the boogeyman. So what does he do? He appeals to the fear, the innate fear driven by institutional and structural racism, white supremacy, and he's trying to scare basically a lot of white people in being afraid of these brown people coming with these agendas that are more inclusive. And so he starts talking about everybody from El Sayed, who won in Michigan, to anybody else. So let's be real clear on what this is. But what we have to say to our white colleagues is y'all can't take debate either. Stop letting this dude play y'all for stupid, like
That's right.
somehow or other that the agenda does not affect y'all too. This ain't
That's
about
right.
black and white. This president is fighting over green. Full stop.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Full stop. I appreciate that, Doc. Doc, let me ask you a question. I'd like to pivot for a second because something fairly extraordinary is once again happening on August 28th. And I want to congratulate Reverend Sharpton and Martin Luther King III for having the wherewithal and the presence of mind to recognize that unlike many August 28th marches on Washington, D.C., this march on Washington, D.C. takes on a very different meaning, a fundamentally different meaning. And I'd like you, because we do have about 3 minutes before we come forward, if you don't mind, Doc, contextualize from 63 to 2026. What is the road that we have traveled to get to this moment? And what would you like to hear on August 28th?
Did our beloved producer slide you that note so that she didn't have to put her voice behind trying to make that pivot? Did she set me up, or did you come up with that?
I came up with that just now because I know your mind can handle it.
If we go back to the lead up to 1963, when I was finishing law school, my cert paper was on some of the cases that the late Justice Thurgood Marshall had championed when he was at the NAACP. And along the way, I was looking at the information about the lead up to the March on Washington, and we truncate the name. It was the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. It wasn't just a march because we were trying to get exercise. It was a march because we were demanding economic participation and political liberation. That was the agenda. The fact that we are having this march, not just as commemoration, this isn't about nostalgia. It's about the ongoing obligation to keep the fight going until the ends and the objectives have been achieved. We still have job, wage gap, wealth gap. We still have disparities between communities. We still have issues about where folks can and cannot go in their very persons in this moment, where it's not just the immigrants that are under attack, the citizens are too. And so this march is about jobs and freedom, economic and political equality, full participation. And so we don't just applaud Reverend Sharpton and Martin Luther King III, they call him Marty. we don't just clap for them, we join with them, we hold up their arms, and we keep the struggle going because the fight ain't over yet.
I also want to take this opportunity to thank Reverend Sharpton, who has, I found out today, invited my younger brother, Yusef Jackson, the CEO and president of the Rainbow Coalition, to speak at the March on Washington, August the 28th. Very much looking forward to hearing Yusef's remarks, should he choose to accept, and I believe that he will. I appreciate the magnanimity, if you will, of Dr. Sharpton's spirit and Martin III's spirit in trying to make a platform for all of our organizations to be able to share a vision for our nation during these very trying times. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More with Dr. Todd Yeary when we come forward.
While you're stuck in traffic, we can at least bring you up to speed on the news of the day. You're listening to Jesse Jackson Jr. only on KBLA Talk 1580.
Just in case you missed our Procrastination Crenshaw Town Hall.
My name is Khalifa Bey. I am the founder of the South LA Bureau of Tourism and Trade. And how this is impacting me is that I can't promote it. I won't promote it. I hear a lot of talk about everybody. Accountability is responsibility. Change your vote. Change the vote. I know there's a lot of Democrats in this room, and I get all that. But if you keep doing the same thing over and over and over and expecting a different result, it ain't gonna happen. And it's not about Democrat, Republican. It's about getting what we need to get done. That's what it is for me, because this is deliberate. This of our communities. You look at Chicago. You look at all the black communities were built by us. We're in the same condition. So to me, it's by design. And if we don't do something to change the vote to get to what we need, stop having these meetings.
Making sure they stick to the truth. We're KBLA Talk 1580. Helping communities get connected. Along the Crenshaw Corridor, free public Wi-Fi is now available thanks to Destination Crenshaw and the City of Los Angeles. Whether you're checking email, applying for jobs, finishing homework, or supporting your local businesses, staying connected is easier than ever because access to the internet means access to opportunity. To learn more and find Wi-Fi locations near you, visit www.getconnected.lacity.gov.
Is reviewing life insurance on your to-do list? Now's the perfect time to add it. A friend recently told me that securing life insurance sooner rather than later can help you lock in lower rates for years to come. So I bumped this up on my list and got it done. I called SelectQuote and couldn't believe how easy and affordable life insurance is. I'm 40 and got a $500,000 policy for $16 a month. My husband's also 40 and his $500,000 policy was only $18 a month. Plus, with SelectQuote's same-day coverage, there was no medical exam required, and we were covered by the time we hung up. Knowing I have this checked off my list feels amazing, but the peace of mind knowing my family is protected feels even better.
Call SelectQuote at 1-800-729-7070. That's 1-800-729-7070. Or go to SelectQuote.com to get your free quote today. That's 1-800-729-7070. Details on example rate at SelectQuote.com.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. These are hard times for housing in America. Too many in our community face barriers to safe housing, behavioral health care, and affirming spaces for healing, particularly those impacted by poverty and stigma or incarceration. Rooted in South LA, Ahmad supports impacted communities through housing, wellness, and leadership development. Ahmad provides culturally responsive, peer-led support from transitional housing and mental health services to leadership development and youth empowerment. They offer safe, affirming houses for youth, transgender women, and formerly incarcerated individuals. Therapy and peer support with a focus on healing trauma in Black communities. HIV prevention and care, free testing, education, and wraparound services for whole person wellness. Standing in the gap with health, housing, and hope. Reach out to Ahmad Institute at 323-569-1610. That's 323-569-1610. Or visit amaad.org. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 joins you in standing for voting rights. The midterm election campaign season is here now. The 2028 presidential election is right around the corner. When We All Vote is a leading national nonpartisan initiative on a mission to change the culture around voting and to increase participation in each and every election by helping to close the race and age gap. Created by Michelle Obama, When We All Vote brings together individuals, institutions, brands, and organizations to register new voters across the country and advance civic education for the entire family and voters of every age to build an informed and engaged electorate for today and generations to come. When We All Vote empowers their supporters and volunteers to take action through voting, advocating for their rights, and holding their elected officials accountable. It's all in for 2026 and 2028. Please visit whenweallvote.org to stand up for your rights, voting rights. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Roger and Tracy saved over $18,400. Cynthia was recovering from a family tragedy and saved over $10,300. If you are drowning in debt, then call Debt Blue. Debt Blue is a professional debt negotiation firm with over 20 years of experience helping people pay back a fraction of what they owe. Learn how to cut your debt up to half or maybe more. Be debt-free in 24 to 48 months, even with bad credit. With an A+ rating from the BBB, you can rest easy knowing Debt Blue is going to deliver guaranteed debt reduction. Debt Blue offers a success guarantee. You pay nothing unless your debt is reduced or completely resolved. That's right. You save money or it's free. Call now for significant debt relief and a free consultation. 800-200-8879. That's 800-200-8879. You don't have to declare bankruptcy. This program works if you owe $10,000, $20,000, or even $100,000 in debt. Call for your free consultation today. 800-200-8879. That's 800-200-8879.
Now back to more of Jesse Jackson Jr. on KBLA Talk 1580.
The Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. 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 King Quality drops the beat. Come on and talk with me.
I'm Jesse Jackson Jr. Welcome forward to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. We've been blessed in this hour in the politics of our faith with Reverend Dr. S. Todd Eury, Esquire, and I'm so grateful that he has been so faithful in his execution of this show here at KBLA Talk 1580. Dr. Eury, I do have a question because you have a dual role, both in the courtroom and in church on Sunday morning. And yesterday I had two amazing guests. Dr. Karen McRae from the Equal Justice Movement. She works with Barbara Arnwine, but she's also the head of the 100 Black Men organization, the first woman ever to have that role in that particular context as its president and CEO. And I also had Dr. Joanne Frederick, medical doctor and psychiatrist, and we talked about trauma. We talked about trauma in Black bodies. And more specifically, our producer wanted to have a show that focused on what our youth are experiencing and feeling going back into the classrooms and into this settings at this hour. And I wanted to bring you in your final thoughts into this conversation because you too, as a pastor, look out upon your congregation and you see parents and you see children and you have to answer, I guess, in a counseling kind of way, what it is that we are experiencing at this hour that's unlike any other. Dr. Eury, only you can work with this. Please share with us your feelings, your thoughts, and we're so grateful.
Well, I appreciate the question. Let me kind of frame the context less from the traditional role that I play as pastor, but one of the entities that the church that I serve was blessed to frame and start is a summer day camp. That day camp we run for 5 weeks every summer. We don't charge the parents or the families anything other than a registration fee. We do so because for 5 weeks in the gap between the end of school and the start of school is where we know that there's a huge void of creating safe spaces for the imagination of young people to be cultivated and nurtured. And so in this moment when the kids are going back to school, many of them have returned, some are returning in the coming days and weeks. We have to remember that we've burdened the education system to really be more of a huge social service organization. Many of our young people, particularly in urban contexts, are housing vulnerable, even homeless, that many times the most stability they get in terms of meals for the kids is through the feeding program through the schools. And so by the time you even get to the teaching and learning mission, you've already had to assume a number of other roles. And so what I'm thinking about in this moment, as there is an intentional effort by this administration to dismantle the Department of Education, which ended up being formed and framed because the states were not only reluctant, but resistant, even obstinate, in implementing and enforcing Brown versus Board of Education. That's why there are two Brown versus Board of Education cases, one outlawing racial discrimination in public accommodation, but the second that said, you got to do what we said, states, with all deliberate speed. The speed at which we see the dismantling is creating a vulnerability, and that's where communities and community entities have to step up and make sure that we protect the minds and the imaginations of our young people, even as we have an administration that's calling out this boogeyman that says that if they think differently, if they engage differently, if they believe that there's more that the government can do and must do, that somehow they're going to be labeled as so obviously different as to be outliers. And so what I think about in this moment is that we come together for our kids. We encourage them, we nurture them, we push them to think bigger and bolder than we were able to do when we were young people. And we do it unapologetically. And when it's time to stand in the gap, we just don't stand for our own, we stand for those in our neighborhood. If your neighbor can't go to the parent-teacher meeting, talk to your neighbor and say, I'll go for you. I'll meet with the teachers with you. We'll have a community caucus to make sure that the system is not failing our children so that when they finally get to the place where they transition into adulthood, their imaginations have been nurtured, their dreams have grown, and they are ready to assume civic responsibility, not just nationally, but globally, because that's who our children are.
Thank you for that, Dr. Uri. What do you say to parents, and what do you tell children in our final 2 minutes on their way to school?
To the parents, I say, you're not alone. Scripture tells us, don't grow weary in doing good. Keep doing what you need to do on behalf of your children, because you're going to reap a harvest. To the young people, the text also tells us, don't get discouraged when people look down on you because of your youth. You have great potential. Tap into it, develop it, and then share it with the world.
You've been listening to the Politics of Our Faith on the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show. Our regular contributor, Reverend Dr. Todd Uri Esquire, has been with us for more than a year now, and I am so grateful for his leadership and his work in all of the spaces that he's doing God's work. Dr. Uri, welcome forward, and thank you for being on the show.
Until next week, wash the spoon. I'll be ready to go.
Looking forward to it, brother. I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., listening to the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show on KBLA Talk 1580. More when we come forward, right here on KBLA.
KBLA 15.